All right, today we are working on a 2015 Ford Transit. It's got the 2.5 liter motor with the 6F35 transmission. All right, let's get the battery disconnected here real quick. Always be very careful not to touch that metal wrench to any other metal when you're taking out that positive. You should probably take off the negative first. That way the battery's not grounded to the positive side of the battery. From what I understand, if you touch the positive to the car, when the negative is not connected to the battery, you won't get the spark. But I'm not going to try it and find out. Alright, so next thing we're going to do here is we're going to replace this mount. If you look down in there, you can see some black greasy stuff all over the frame. I guess these are filled with liquid, and that indicates you pretty much need to replace that. So it should be a pretty straightforward process. I got the new mount. So this is the new mount kit that I got. New upper mount. From what I understand though, sometimes when you buy these, they don't come with this bottom bracket. You got to bend these tabs off, and then you stick this piece in there and bend the new tabs in. I got the one that's the entire mount. I think I paid like 65 bucks for this entire kit. Also got the lower engine mount, which will install that, and then the transmission side, which all of these are actually straightforward and easy to install. Just need a jack and jack stands and your typical tools. So let's get started on that one. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is get this coolant tank out of the way, which I believe just pulls up and out. Alright, just pull. I'm gonna squeeze this and pop it off as well. Very easily. Move that out of the way. There. And we still gotta get this back one out. It's being very difficult. Oh, shit. There we go. Alright. Alright, move the camera out of the way. So now what you have to do is take this and just set it over here out of the way, preferably so it doesn't spill. And that's why I took that plastic line off, because it is plastic and they don't usually flex all that much. So, alright, now we got a good view of our motor mount. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bolts. These 3 right here, one right here, and there's one in the back. That's the same looking like that one. So let me grab the tools for that. It looks like an 18 and a 15. Oh, my 15's cracked right in half. What are these, Matco? Guess when I see the guy in the Matco truck, we're gonna have to get my socket replaced. Alright, got a standard size wrench, which of course I need a longer socket for that side. That side will be fine, but I don't know if I can get enough torque on a little wrench. That actually popped loose. And at this point, I'm going to stick my jack underneath the engine and pick up on it, so when I loosen this, the engine doesn't fall down in. Alright, and then here's where I put the jack up underneath the engine. I put a block there to make sure I don't break my aluminum oil pan. I wouldn't do that without a block there or something to kind of distribute the weight so you're not pressing all in one central spot. And you're just picking it up just a little bit. If you watch the engine compared to the frame, you'll see it pick up just a little bit. That's all you want, just to remove the weight off of that upper engine mount. It feels like the entire stud is coming out, which I'm pretty sure it is. And then when you're loosening these, what you want to see is you want to make sure, see how I got a gap growing between the engine block and the mount? That means I need to pick up on my engine just a little bit more. The engine's dropping as I'm loosening it, so I'm going to go down below and jack it up just a little bit more. Actually, I could probably do it from here with my foot. So we'll just watch that. And you see the whole thing kind of pick up and move there. And you see that gap fill? That's perfect right there. You can see the engine's loose in there. So we'll go ahead and finish this. And this nut came off perfect. That's exactly what we want. Sometimes the studs will come out. This stud will come out of here. That's completely fine. Don't freak out. That's why the top of this looks like that. So you can get a socket on there. Not a regular socket. You need a, I believe it's called a reverse Torx bit, but throw that on there and you'll just run them back down. I'll point it out once we get these out, how far those go down in there, if that does happen to you. This is one that's going to do it for me. And there you go. So we could put it back in this way, or you can remove the nut, put the stud down in there, and then put the stud on there. If you're doing it by torque specs, then you'll definitely want to put the stud in there first before you put the nut back on there. I am not doing these torque spec. I'm just cranking them down in there by hand. I recommend that you do it by the manufacturer's settings. I'm doing it by hand because I've done it long enough that I know what a really good guesstimated area feels like. Well, it's not horrible, but it's definitely cracked around the top and leaked all of its liquid out, which is supposed to be a dampener. So let's get that swapped out. And actually, I'm going to bring you around just so you can see what's down in here. Many times I've tried to find a video just to see some extra footage, see what some things look like. And there you go. Stick you back up here. Another thing you should always do too is always check your old part and your new part. Hold them up, make sure they look exactly identical. That way you're not trying to put a part in, you know, where this bolt hole moved over ½ an inch and you can't figure out why it won't go in. For these two bolts, don't drop them. But for these two bolts, start them down, run them down by hand, do not tighten them up. Just snug them up by hand. In fact, I'm not even doing them snug. As you can see, they're still plenty loose. And then I'm gonna grab my stud in here, which I don't recommend really doing it this way, but I'm gonna make sure that that starts. And my rule of thumb is you should be able to turn this 2 or 3 times. Obviously you get dirty bolts, nuts, screws that won't turn in, but when you're threading stuff in, make sure you spin it on a little bit. Like you can tell that one started. Like I'll watch this, see how far down that is? And it's turning real easy. If you stick it on there and you give it one turn and it gets tough already, and then you might have it cross-threaded. And I promise you the last thing you're going to want to do is cross-thread these on. Alright, so go ahead and snug these back up. And if you don't have a torque wrench, it's not a huge deal. For a lot of bolts, you can just torque them back down to what they felt like when they came out. Usually the size of the bolt will tell you how much torque goes behind it, or how hard you should torque. With that being said though, if you have a torque wrench, use it. And there are some things you don't want to skip, like head bolts, crank, connecting rods. Mainly if it's internal, do it the right way. And since I'm hand tightening these, what I'll do is tighten them all down to where I believe they should be, and then I'll make a secondary round to confirm they are all tight. Sometimes you tighten down one bolt and it'll actually loosen up another bolt when there's weight on it, like there is for an engine mount. Alright, get those snugged up nice and snug. Move to our outside bolts. It's supposed to rain today, so hopefully we don't get cut off in the middle of doing one of these. Snug these up. I'm gonna lower my jack, watch the engine just to make sure it looks like it's good to go. Which, as you noticed, didn't even move. So we are solid there. We'll take this boy, put her back in there. I guess it could be a female too, who knows. The way it came out, it's definitely female. I'm just kidding, guys. Kind of. There we go. I'm just sticking my fingers back there without smashing them, just to make sure that that slid back in there the way it was supposed to. Make sure that popped down in there. Feel the one in the back. That one's good. That one's good. Make sure we connect our line back here. That's good. Alright, I already moved the air box. Air box is pretty simple. You're just going to undo this clamp right here. Pop off the top of the box, pull it out, pull your filter out, and then the bottom of the box, I don't know if you, there's this little rubber tab. There's a pipe that comes in here. Just gonna pop that off, and then the entire box is held in by just little rubber mount guys. And you just basically wiggle and pull the bottom of the box out, and it'll pop right out. No bolts or anything else needed. 90% sure it's just this and this. I'll double check. I might even have already recorded it, but I don't remember. Alright, so our next thing is to get this mount out right here. It's underneath the battery tray, so gotta move the air box. I already have the battery disconnected. The ground is still connected. I gotta get back there and disconnect that. Really, you should always do your positive first and your ground second. That way, if you're working on the positive side and you touch the frame, if the ground's not connected, rubber tires, she won't zap. Something like that, anyways. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get this battery tray out of here, which honestly does not look that fun. Like I said, there's a big wiring harness that goes in the bottom here. Some wires plugged in here. I don't know, I think I can actually pull this piece out. Actually, it's already kind of loose, isn't it? Pull up on that and slide it out of the way. Other than my cable that I put on there. Alright, got that off. Pull this gently down without breaking stuff.
Last year or the year before, I don't remember which year it was. It looked like a trike or something over there going down the road.
I might be able to get in there. Pushing that out of the way. I didn't get the battery in and out that way, so let's go ahead and loosen up the bracket to the battery. All right, the battery is out. So our next move is, what in the world is that? That must be for bigger battery. Remove that, must be. Interesting. But next move is to get this bolt out, this bolt out, this bolt out. And I don't see any more, but there may be. But let's get those out. And those are going to be 10 millimeters. No, actually looks like that is not a bolt. So I'm guessing it's just gonna pop out of here. I'm going to pull that out just in case it's locking something in. Almost feels like this top piece pops off, but I can't tell. Alright, well, if you fight with this long enough, you'll get it out. I'll try to show the camera what it looks like. Looks like there's two tabs here and here, tab here and here, and a tab back here and here. So I'm probably all got a latch on when you go to put that back in. And that gives the box room to pull up on it, I'm guessing. What is holding you down, buddy? Feels like I missed the entire bolt. I wonder if that's a bolt hole down in there. It is. So there's another bolt way back here hiding in the hole. Yeah. what's holding her in. I put the screwdriver looking bit on there and it'll come out. I might turn that by hand now. All 3 bolts are out, and should just slide out of there. Could, would, maybe, probably won't. What in the world? Hold on. Oh, the back. It's got to come more straight out. And there's our engine mount. Can we get past this plate to get in there? Yeah, we can. Those 2 bolts right there. These 2 bolts back here. And then I'm pretty sure just this one big one. So I'm gonna go underneath and put some pressure up underneath the transmission using the block of wood again. Alright, so that's what I got going underneath there. Block of wood, jack, just lift it up until it felt like the weight was off of it. I'm going to start removing stuff and slowly pay attention if I need to go up or down with the jack. Alright, and just like the other mount, we got a 15 and an 18. These 15s back here, probably going to want deep wells. That way you don't accidentally strip them out. Not get enough grip. Oh, holy crap. That is definitely on there tighter. I'm gonna need a breaker bar for that one. I lied. My 15 is cracked in my breaker bar and I don't have an 18 for this. So, a little cheater extension. Socket over the end of it. There she goes. There we go. It's not lifting, so we'll put some more weight on the transmission. I see a lift there, so we're good to go. Shouldn't be no weight on it. I'm gonna loosen that up and then switch over to my 15s. And since this one clears everything, I put some really long extensions on there just to get it right up out of the way. I expect 15s to be too awfully hard to get out. I think if I had Loctite, I'd put Loctite on every single bolt. That way, if you ever have to do this again, it'll come apart a little easier. Unfortunately, I don't have Loctite today. Or not Loctite, anti-seize. If I could, I'd put anti-seize on all these. But I don't have any anti-seize, so no anti-seize today. Now these are studs, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the bolts completely out. Or the nuts completely off for me. Power tool sure would make this job quicker.
Big huge tree, did they? He got to stay. He was too big to take down.
So it looks like the wiring harness is connected here with a little plastic connector to hold it on, so I have to pry that off. Looks like there's probably two of them. Tire trying to get that out of there, so I just pried it up and out of the way. Be careful with that, you don't want to rip your wiring. I think you could have done a little better on that job there, Ford. Oh, that wiring just kind of hanging out there. I guess at least the battery tray is right there, so it's hard to get in there for animals. Alright, engine mount is loose, so let's go ahead and loosen it the rest of the way up and get it out of there. Alright, and again I will take this over and compare it to the other mount and make sure they match. So right away, looks like this top plate needs to come off and be transferred over to here. That's probably for dampening. Hopefully you can see that plate. I'll try to wiggle this around a little bit so you can see it. I'm gonna go move that and then I'll be back. Alright, we got that plate transferred over there. So it's ready to go. Just like before, we're going to put all the nuts and bolts on and not tighten any of them. Making sure they spin in there a little ways before we go reefing on them. Like that one actually, as I was starting it, it tried to do a little cross thread. Alright, not sure why the camera cut out there, but I put the plate back down in there. If I was going to do this again, honestly, I wouldn't pry this plate out of there. That was kind of a pain in the butt. I would just lift it up, move it around, slide your engine mount out. I'm pretty sure you could probably get it out without doing all that. But let's get this put back over the studs, making real sure that wire is definitely clear and free of everything. Go ahead and grab these bad boys. Let's get them put back in. And start everything to make sure we don't get no cross threads accidentally. That's just my method. You can do it however you want. A lot of people just throw their power tool on there and right down in there, but I've gotten stuff back from mechanic and had bolts cross-threaded in. And let me tell you, the second time working on it when it's cross-threaded, not fun. All right. Double check, make sure I got no wiring down in there. Once we mash it down, No good from there. Definitely want to watch that little tiny wire in the back. That's nice and snugged up. Snugged up. Kind of funny having the battery out, but my refrigerator's still in there running, and I can still charge my phone and stuff. Because it's a camper van, I got 200 amp hours in house batteries. Right. Put it down in there. Reach underneath here. Just double check that little wire is clearing everything. Again, we definitely don't want to smash that in there. And I'm just going to loosely thread these in so I can wiggle the box while I'm putting them all in case one's misaligned, particularly this one. There we go. I definitely had to wiggle that to get that one started. Just make sure when you're tightening down these 10s, you're not reefing them down. They're not very big, they don't require a lot of torque. Alright, let's put this guy back in there. Which he could have been left in there actually, but right here, when you get this guy back in there, that's gonna be a little tricky, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I had to move you out of the way for a minute so I could get that piece back in there. I'd probably put that in there before you shove that tray down in there. It's kind of a pain, but it did get in there. Slide that up. Slide our battery down in there nice and slowly. Careful not to touch that positive on anything. Got a tab on this side that goes on this side. Be very careful not to touch the positive. Alright, so I got the upper mount, the battery strap in. So now we just got to clip this back in. This should be pretty easy. And if you're wondering how this goes in, there's a tab right here. You see the hole right there? There's a tab at the bottom of that. And then there's a slot here and a slot here. We just pick it up and slide it down into there. All right, I'm not hooking up the battery because I got more work to do. All right, now we're going up underneath because our next mount is gonna be right here. So that's our next mount we're gonna get done. Again, we're probably gonna have to support the transmission just a little bit. This one don't actually hold any weight. It's more for the rocking of the transmission. So might not even have to do anything. Might be able to just move it. I've done other cars where I just push on the engine and get it lined back up, but it might rock enough to move. I would say definitely don't do this if you're in park on a hill and the tires are touching the ground, because as soon as you release this, it's going to allow the car to move backwards or forward or down the hill, whichever way that may be. Might not go far, but it will move. So let's get that done. All right, for this one, we're probably going to need 15s and 18s again, just like before. Just for fun, I'm going to pop these ones loose on the actual mount itself, just to see if we can get the mount out of there without taking the entire trans bracket off. Because if we can, that would make things a little easier, wouldn't it? I just realized this one's actually got a rubber mount on it too. So I'm wondering if that one should have been replaced. I don't have the part, so I'm not going to worry about it right this minute. I'll inspect it, see how it looks. If it looks real bad, then I'll replace it. I'm definitely going to loosen all these up to make sure I can get them loose. Almost forgot how much fun it was to lay underneath the vehicle. So we got a bolt here, a bolt here. There's got to be at least one more bolt somewhere. Oh, and a bolt back here. So let's go ahead and get that loosened up and hopefully out of the way. And as I thought, the engine did move, but see how easy this is to pull? I can just pull it forward. Pop that out of there, let the engine slide back just gently. Pretty sure I will not be able to get that out of there without removing that whole lower mount, but nope, definitely can't do that. So it looks like you gotta remove the mount, push it back, and then remove your other bolts. And I positioned my wrench purposely facing upwards so I wasn't rocking the engine quite so much to get that one loose. The other two are facing backwards so those won't rock the motor. Shit. Shit, dude. Holy fuck. Well, maybe we're not doing the lower one. We got that one. I guess we just got to get this one somehow. I think I'm just gonna have to move you guys out of the way. That's all there is to it. We'll be back. Alright, did I already get this one out? No. So now I'm wondering if I can just take this bolt off while that one's loose, swing this out of the way, pull that out, put the new one in, swing that back in. We're gonna try it. Anything to make it a little quicker and a little easier. What was it? I could pull that. Nope, sure can't. modes. This is where a ratchet and wrench is needed for sure. That could be flying right now. Seriously. All right. Holy crap. Most I've ever done though. So again, threaded side, goes to the driver's side. Toss that up in there. Grab our other mount. Whew. I'm gonna stick that one up in there just in case. Before I tighten any of these down, I definitely want to make sure I can get all these in there and started threading just in case. Pretty much whenever you bolt something down that has more than one bolt, make sure you can get all the bolts started, and I would say make sure you get them at least a few threads in there. That way when you tighten, if you tighten one down, it doesn't misalign another hole, and then you gotta go loosen it back up. Just to get a single bolt in. I think it's time to fast forward you through this part. Blech. snug that one up. I lied, it's not snug at all. Give my arm a rest. Holy crap. That doesn't seem great, does it? It's crazy that that's tight already. That's still got that much slop in there. Maybe that's why it was so hard getting out of there. So we're gonna have to just really refine it, I guess. There it goes. Yeah. All right. Let's think it really matters which order you do these ones in. I'm going to do the back one first. The reason being is the mount's bigger, so when you release the motor, it might push that bolt and make it sideways, and it's going to be harder if these are lined up because there's going to be more. So I'm going to get this one started in there. I'm not going to torque it down, but I know these are sometimes hard to get started. Trying to get them lined up. I think I just got it. Yeah. So, I'm not going to tighten it though. I'm going to leave it loose just in case. Oh, rest my arm just for a minute. I'm pretty sure that just bit. Oh, almost checked myself in the face. And for the fun part. Snug that one up. Snug this one up, then I'll tighten them both down real good. Alright, and there you have it. All the engine mounts are done. Good to go.